Welcome to the Structural Engineering Podcast. This week, Zach and I are doing a little rundown of the last year and our goals for this coming season.
So Max, to start us off, where are we right now? What's going on?
Oh, we are in Tennessee visiting LP Factory and doing a lot of interviews with them and learning a lot of cool stuff about OSB and a lot of products they make. So we're sitting in this hotel.
To add to that, we're sitting in my room, 13th floor, having a few beers.
Got a real nice view, too.
Yeah.
A lot of tall buildings in Nashville.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. What's blown my mind being here the last couple of days is how many buildings are going up.
Yeah.
Dude, the amount of cranes. The other thing that's crazy, my Uber driver on the way in told me that there's more to be built. They don't have enough cranes.
Wow.
They're struggling with cranes. Like, who would have thought that's the pain point of building in Nashville in 2023?
Yeah. As I was coming on the plane, when I landed, thinking this city is way bigger than I expected. And size of Nashville is 600,000. The size of Tennessee is 7 million. And then I was doing some silly math, and that's exactly 1/50th of the country. Like, it's the exact distribution of people. It's
wow.
Yeah.
I also, it's
2%.
Don't want to fully admit this. This is the furthest east I've ever been. Like, actually, to somewhere I've flown through Newark.
Really?
Never been more east than Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow.
Because we're more east than Chicago, right?
Ooh, I think I think we're dumb.
Oh, no.
We gotta cut this out.
Why not?
In a lot
No, we're
south.
east. We're east of Illinois.
Are we?
Of Chicago, yeah. Yeah, look at that. On the map, baby. Just barely.
Just barely, man.
Barely. Score. But, so, question I want to ask, Max.
Yeah.
Are we quitting the podcast?
Heck no.
All right.
We got a nice year planned. First, let's talk about last year, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Some big life changes and some periods of slow podcast time, which is not what I want. But I was in a coma for a little bit. That was a bummer.
Man, just throw that one out.
Well, it was a good reason to pause the podcast. It was pretty hard to do.
And you're back?
I'm back.
Are you working?
I'm working, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I took 9 months off. Well, not off. Sleep.
That's like,
but now back.
okay.
So, there's a pause on my SE studying, obviously. It's clearly a pause on everything.
Yeah.
But my goals this year, we'll get to many more, but I want this SE. I want to give it the effort it deserves. Take this test.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
You worried about it changing? Going electronic?
No. I think it'll be more difficult. Not harder, just the longer occasion will be, deserving a little more studying, and it'll contain more material. It's more hours. It'll have more questions.
Yeah, I'm curious about, looking, I've got all my code books tabbed and all that good stuff. I feel like I know where things are, but going to a computer base and, yes, you can control F and find things, but you need to know exactly what you're looking for, which really is what the SE is trying to make sure in general. So but
can you do it in 6 minutes?
Yeah.
Also?
I just know where everything is in the code book. And so going to go find it, we have plenty of PDF code books and I go in there and try to find stuff. I don't enjoy it as much as the paper book.
No.
Which just makes me feel old school, I don't know if anyone listening to this feels the same way, but it just feels more old school. So I'm excited to take it. But
I assume the digital version of the test doesn't have a code reference that you can look stuff up, or does it? Like, you still are textbook.
No, everything's virtual. So every single code book, every code book is online.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
Yes, and then they give you a 120-page reference manual.
What?
Yeah.
And does the control and F button still work?
Yep.
Wow, that really changes it.
Yeah, it really changed. So when you're saying the 6-minute question, I'm like, man, I could grab that code book real quick and open it up. But to find the code book, or not find it, but to go to it and then find where I need to be is going to be it's going to take some time, I think.
Yeah.
But I got to do that, and then the survey exam for California too.
Yeah.
Get my license there. But
and that's the last piece of the California license. You got to do the survey one.
Yeah, seismic, man, it was super easy.
Yeah.
Super easy. Like I do a lot of seismic work, so
yeah.
I don't do a lot of survey. I'll be honest. I took it once years ago. Didn't pass it.
A survey class.
The survey exam.
Did you have a survey class in college?
Yeah, in college. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
So I like studied very little and went and took it, and I left going, whoops.
Yeah.
Man, that's not good. Totally forgot a lot of the stuff I learned in college, and then there's so many things about like questions of like laws and stuff like that are specific to California.
Yeah. What's the studying resources for the survey exam? Like, is it
They've got a bunch online.
Yeah.
Like that you should buy. I have a survey book that they suggested.
Give me an example of a question. Because it's not like look through this,
No, it's like
compass.
it was years ago now, but they'll give you some angles and lengths and stuff, and you got to figure out, or like different surveying techniques on how to get heights or distances. And
you just SOHCAHTOA everything.
SOHCAHTOA didn't work for me on everything. So, yeah. Say those are the things I'm working on too,
Okay.
But yeah, this last year.
What do you got work this last year? I mean,
I got
some really
moved
cool
into
stuff.
A new position. So I lead a team of engineers now that are freaking awesome engineers. It's pretty cool to mentor them and, lead them to the successes they want to achieve in their careers. So it's been a change from engineering. I don't do that every day anymore. I don't sit down with the calcs and do them all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I think it's a change, but it's been really fun to learn a different,
Yeah, it's like learning a whole new thing.
Yeah, for sure. And found too that like there's nothing in engineering school that prepped you to lead and manage people. But then I found the role to kind of mix in with clients a lot more as well. And there's definitely nothing in school that talks really about either of those things. Like,
no. Is it harder than you expected or easier? Or different?
I would say it's a different challenge. Instead of trying to figure out how to, get the structure to work and coordinating with the architect, let's say on that, I'm, trying to figure out how to best lead each individual to their success. So the best way I've heard this is like I work for them. I am there to make them successful. They're not there to make me successful.
Yeah.
And that really changed like just approach of how leadership and management in my mind, never really thought of it that way, but it's so true. And then, my boss, his job is to make me successful. It's not my job to make him successful. I think if you do that, like kind of top down, or down up, whatever direction you want to think of it, approach, it really, I think will bring a lot of success.
Yeah. I mean, it almost flips the script in a sense, but really that's not the case. Like it is what is actually happening here.
Yeah. And it's been fun too, because I'm really big into telling them like, I'm here, to help you, whatever you need help for, so I find, it's challenging sometimes because I'm in, I get pulled into a lot of meetings, a lot more now, it seems like, because now I'm overseeing a lot more projects because it's a whole team of people instead of just the projects that I was doing. So it's been interesting to just see where all that goes. Lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was going with that. While we're talking, a Teams message popped up on my computer from one of the
that fits very well
team members. So even sometimes I think like to play games with me every once in a while. They'll give me some red lines. Say, hey, can you go pick this up? If that's what you need me to do, that's what I'm here to do. And I think I've definitely made some other leaders uncomfortable or not, but I think it's a different approach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see a lot of value in it. I think the team has changed for the better with that like mentality.
Have you seen any changes in the other leadership? Like
definitely.
Groups? Yeah, that's definitely awesome.
And had a lot of conversations. It's so interesting that like we think as an engineering group, society, whatever, that you can just take a really good engineer and make them a manager or leader of people. And that I would say manager, because I think leadership's different than management.
Yeah, strong word.
So I think it's interesting that like we go, oh yeah, you're really good at engineering. You should
Time to
manage
manage.
people now,
Yeah.
right?
And we've talked about this with several people, and like I actually like to do an episode almost in this subject.
Yeah.
As you progress through your career, you get better and better at engineering, and you do less and less of it until you're just managing. And it's kind of like a roof on your engineering skills. You kind of stop getting better and better as you're doing less and less, and after a few years, you're a manager.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me, and so I've definitely talked to a lot of people out in the industry that are kind of pushed that way, and there's nothing. Yeah, there's definitely nothing that really prepares you for it, and it's such a dynamic job. I don't think there's ever a time that you're like, I'm just the best manager leader, right? Like I'm just, there's no better. Like I'm just the best. It's such a dynamic job. I think there's just continuous learning, unlike I would say way more than structural engineering. I feel like you get those basics down, you can really start developing those things. There's always continuous learning.
Mhm.
There's new things happening, but I feel like in leadership, it's even bigger and more. So the way, I've approached it is reading a lot of books of leadership.
Really?
I've had a lot of conversations with people about it. And just trying to take a different approach.
Do you remember what your favorite book was? One that you'd recommend?
Oh man, I don't know if I have a favorite. I'll be honest. Over the last like 5 years, I've taken like an interest in a lot of different things and read a lot of different books. And definitely found like the management stuff has been some of the most interesting things to read about. But like behavioral science has been interesting.
Yeah.
And the reason the reason it's hard to answer that question is like, I don't think there's one book that tells the whole story.
Yeah.
And I think it's the reading a bunch of them and kind of picking and pulling pieces from each one has really been been helpful.
Yeah.
Kind of connecting dots.
I think also when I look at this stuff, it's a reminder that what we do for most of the time is straight facts, right? We do, the math side is just factual. And when you're looking into management, it's an opinion thing. And so you want to hear what everyone's opinion is to do the best job possible. And if you know more opinions, then you're probably doing a better job. Like the more you learn, the better you are.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think an important thing too is to remember that you have to be the one that makes the decision.
Yeah.
So take all the information, make the decision, and move forward. It's been a fun thing to get into. The other big part of it that I would say is like really important for anyone listening that's like, I'm not in that position. How can I do better? Or I have a manager that's not really good or things like that. I think the biggest and the most important thing with leadership is expectations.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned has just been huge is like, is sharing expectations. And I think it's important that people tell their managers how they want to be managed. Here's how I can be most successful if you manage me this way, or and stuff like that. But then expectations of roles and everything. I think it really, and I know we've digressed into this conversation, but it's something I've become really passionate about. I think sharing expectations solves most problems, especially with other people.
Yeah.
I think in almost, and if not all relationships, just share what the expectation is.
I think that's a really good statement in a business relationship. Honestly. Yeah.
100%. Talking to other people that manage or lead people, it's been an interesting conversation of, sometimes frustration and stuff. And I go, well, did you ever share to them the expectations?
Yeah.
And it's usually the answer is no.
No.
And I go, well, there's your problem. Just solve that. Go talk to them. Like, it's that simple. Like, oh, they're not performing on this. Well, have you ever told them that's part of the expectation of their job? Well, I guess not directly.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And then, well, what if they don't want to do that? Well, no problem. Like, say, hey, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you can't be in this position because that's what the position strives, what you need to do in this position, our expectations. Let's find you a different role.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really appropriate, like, in my mind, like, way of going about it.
Yeah. I think there's, whether this is relationship at work or with an architect, there's occasional, contractual things written, like what is the job expectations in the job description. But, that may be years ago, right? Like we worked in the same position, in the same firm for a while.
Yeah.
Many years ago. And I I don't remember what that job description was 8 years ago. But, you know, once as you move away from that, it's good to check in on what is expected of you.
Yeah.
And to do that frequently. You know, a lot of firms do an annual review, right? I have an annual review, but that's not frequent enough. I think, you know, a casual feeling, but almost monthly, like.
I do monthly one-on-ones
Yeah.
with the whole team.
Yeah.
Some of them a little bit more often. Some of them, at minimum, we do one a month. Some of the younger staff want to do more. And I asked them, what would make you more successful? And they said, if we did these every other week instead of once a month. Perfect. No, I think that the struggle a lot of people run into is that they think that they have that it's one way fits for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's completely wrong. That's like not going to work at all. Like you need to ask them, how can I best lead you to your success? And that's the only way you can get them to be successful, you know, or you know, help them become successful if you know what it is. And I think too, it's not like, my goal isn't to keep them working with me. That sounds great. And this might blow your mind. I can already see the look on your face. My goal is to make them successful and help them with whatever they want to do in life.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't mean working with me or working at the firm I work at, I'm happy to help them with what that means. Because to me, it's more of a personal, it's a human thing, not a business thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you do this role successfully, it will lead to beneficial business and happy employees.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to like categorize this in my head. But, you know, I think the best role of a, you know, management position is to make the best engineer you can and give that engineer a reason to work for your firm, for the firm that you are a part of.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of two sides. Make them good enough that every firm wants them to work there, right?
Yeah.
But be a reason that they stay.
Yeah. The other place I've changed with expectations is, like I said, working more with clients. Mm-hmm. The biggest point of contention usually with the client is asking for more fee, right?
Yeah.
But we're all in business to make money. And so what I've changed is at the beginning of projects, I sit down with the architect or whoever's managing the architectural, you know, scope of work and ask them, how would you like to handle and communicate scope creep? And that has changed everything because they will tell you exactly how they want that to be communicated instead of you guessing.
And then that's at the start of the project, basically. Like that is really, that is great.
And I have a list of questions, but that's like my biggest one. Like, so, and I always go, scope creep is like the most flattering thing because that means you want me to do more work because you like what we're doing, right? Like scope creep isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
What's bad is usually we don't communicate it. And so let's solve it. Let's just talk. What's the client's expectations when we see that something is a scope creep?
Yeah.
And, you know, you can say however you want it to, you know, to them, like, hey, you know, we hope we don't have to do this or whatever, but like in the chances we do, inevitably almost most projects, there's something that changes. How do you want us to communicate to you that we need additional fees for that? And what I find it does, like, we all want to provide the highest value we can to our clients. And we all are aware that when that fee really runs out and we're way over, it really starts becoming a struggle to keep excited, to keep pushing forward, to spend a lot of effort. Like it's really hard. So you can solve that on your project teams by just having that initial conversations with the client. And then, you know, as you can follow up and get more fee, you can stay, you know, on track with everything and you don't feel rushed. You're not answering to someone up above you on why are you guys out of fee? Why are you running out of money? Like it just opens up a better communication line. So I going back to expectations is everything.
Yeah.
So Max, changing gears here, you know, over the last year or so, how are things been with your recent move to Thornton Tomasetti out in Portland, Maine?
Yeah. So I have been at Thornton Tomasetti for the last 2 years. And as you mentioned before, I took a 9-month break to sleep for a bit in a coma, but it's been really, really great. I kind of saw myself there because I wanted to work on mass timber projects. You know, that was not really a big thing where I was before, and I really wanted to learn what they were doing. Thornton Tomasetti has done some very tall timber projects. I guess some of the tallest.
The tallest
in the world, which is cool. And I
The
wanted
Ascent
to be on
right?
Ascent, yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to be on the team. I mean, I think they know so much about that, and I want to learn as much as I can.
What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned about mass timber that's either surprised you or like you're like, man, this is super cool, other than getting to work on some really awesome projects?
I think the connections being more complicated than I expected. I'm really familiar in steel design. I think like that is probably my go-to. The most comfortable is steel. But just finding that the connections obviously have a limit, and they vary based on the beam size. Obviously, all this is obvious, but it's the complexity once you put it all together. Like we have this perimeter beam. It's also a cord now, so we need to transfer that through the connection. Connection can't take that. We need a strap. It just adds a level of detail that steel doesn't have, and I'm excited to, be forced to learn about. Really, and I really like that we're solving not new problems, but problems that are unique. Right? From a structural perspective, mass timber is fairly new. It's barely codified for the U.S. Yes.
Yeah, it's been in Europe for like 30 plus years, but
So I think as a structural engineering group, we're looking at mass timber more now than we were 20 years ago, and so we have to ask these questions like, how does a collector work? How does all these connections? And that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. To me, mass timber is like the big exciting thing right now, and because it's so new, like you said, there's so much to learn, and there's not like just just use the typical steel details we have, right? Like every project's so unique.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the Empire State Building is like 190 years old. 92 years, close. Like we've been doing steel codified for a long time. And so, we're just not in an industry that needs to evolve frequently. And mass timber, we do, and that just doesn't happen. So anyway,
so let's talk about what's next. So that's been our past. Like I think both of us can agree that we've really wanted to spend more time with the podcast, and life has just gotten busy over the last couple of year at least, if not more.
Yeah.
You with your accident was
big little hiccup.
Well, a little hiccup to say the least. So where are we going next, Max? What do you want to do? We started off. We're still doing the podcast. We're moving forward. What does it look like?
I think we got some good goals for this year, and I hope we hit them all. Starting with the easiest one, and I think really everyone in the structural engineering field should be doing this, is going to as many conferences as you should, right? Not for the fun of it, but just going to the ones that attract you the most, that you work in that realm.
Yeah.
So I really want to go to a few conferences this year, and I usually do one conference a year, but not with any reasoning. It just happens that I end up at about one a year. And I want to aim for 3 this year.
Yeah, what I think would be really cool is to I can't think of how to phrase it any different, but to meet some of the audience that listens to our podcast, to meet the other engineers in the industry. I'm doing a meetup at these conferences if we get to, if we get to go to them. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I've been to a couple conferences where I've ran into people that listen to our podcast, and it's like the coolest thing. I feel like you and I just we talk into a microphone, we post it, people email us and stuff. Actually seeing someone in person and talking to them, and it's so cool. And when they bring up episodes that they're like, "Man, this changed my mind on this," or I learned so much from X, Y, or Z, or we're going to do an episode soon on this, but we did one with Shuriken, right? With Ted.
Yeah.
And that company then got bought, but and he's still working with them. But then an engineer, which this is what the episode will be on, is these trusses.
Oh,
we won't talk too much into it, but he listened to our podcast about the Shuriken connection or Nutkeeper, and then went on to design these wicked cool trusses utilizing those.
Getting rid of so many columns, of an existing building. Well, we'll have this real episode, but it's very impressive.
It's so cool. So it's been it's been cool to hear those different stories of, more or less influence some of our episodes have had on people and their practice and what like they're doing. So I think it'd be cool at these conferences to meet more people and just hear about it. I was actually at the Mass Timber Conference last year and met a guy that does sales for a big company. And he said, I joined this company and I'm doing sales and it's engineered products of sorts. And he goes, I didn't know much about engineering or whatever. So what did I naturally do? I opened up podcasts and I found yours and I started listening. And I was like, you're a salesperson. You listen to our podcast? He goes, I wanted to understand the mind of a structural engineer. And I was like, did it work? Like, what are you like? I was just, my mind was blown in the first place, but it was really cool.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah. So what else are we going to do this year?
Let's see. So I really want to do an application. I think I'm going to have a hard time phrasing this or wording this, but I want to do a structural trivia for PE and SE studying. I think the whole structural engineering community can organize a heck of a lot of questions. And I really want to put together like a flashcard app for structural engineers to learn, what is the minimum concrete reinforcing in a 10-inch wall if it's a special shear wall, right? And, a lot of our job is these small facts that it would just really facilitate working if we have more of them memorized, obviously. And I would just love to put together a way to do that easier. And so I've been talking to some programmers. Fiverr, this company that you pay someone a couple bucks to make a product, and there's some programmers on there, and I'll just have them make this thing and put it up for free and see if it can be helpful. And I really also want people to be able to add questions, right? So, if you're really into some subject and you know a lot about it, put a bunch of questions, codified, just facts, studying that are helpful for studying for the PESE, FE, whatever. We'll put them on the app and a lot of people will be able to see them. I mean, I hope a lot of people can download this. That's one goal I have.
Yeah, something I think would be good too is to, start looking into maybe some sponsorships and stuff to get more opportunities for the podcast. I want to take those opportunities, money, whatever that may be, and put it back into the podcast and make things better. So I think, if we could do way more episodes, if you really think about this, if we could find someone that could edit them for us, right? With our daily, just how busy both of us are.
Yeah.
Like finding someone to edit the podcast would be awesome. And we get emails obviously all the time about this. So I think that would be really cool. But also to, maybe send microphones to, people.
To every guest, to every guest,
right? Nothing crazy,
But to make a better product to listen to. I think it wouldn't take much.
Yeah, exactly. It really wouldn't take much. So yeah, I think those would be pretty sweet things. The other thing too, I'm excited about is like changing, or not changing, but a lot of the episodes we've been tossing around. So I'll name off some here that I'm pretty excited about. I think designing for liquefaction has been cool. But even more into that, like there's this whole world of kind of ground motion and seismic design that's like non-linear and stuff. I think it'd be wicked awesome to like.
Yeah, I got to play with a bit of that in Utah.
I think, we did an episode recently about open source and we talked about AI a bit there, but I think it'd be really interesting to dive into what AI means to structural engineering as just an episode that stands alone.
Yeah, I agree.
Who's using it? I think it'd be interesting to reach out to like Bentley or, those companies, let's say, and ask what are they doing with AI? What have they done? And stuff like that.
I think there's also, on the AI subject, I think there's a lot of talk of what it will change for any industry, right? But I want to know, what will it change in 6 months, 1 year? Like, how do we frame this? This is not how structural engineering will change in the next 20 years. That's important, but I really want to know how this may develop, right? So I want to be specific with those questions.
Oh, absolutely. We already talked about it. Yeah. Some long span trusses.
Oh yeah.
That one's definitely one that's coming up that I'm really excited about. how to implement more modular designs and construction, right? I think like as we think of the future and sustainability, modular construction has to be a part of the conversation.
Extremely efficient, yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I know one that you're excited about, floor vibrations.
Yeah.
I think finding someone that can talk to the depths of that, and we have a few leads and ideas, but
yeah, looked at some professors doing that research, but I wanted to be someone that has done this in the field and on the research side. So we'll see what we find.
I think also bringing in an architect.
Yeah.
And just ask them, like, what can structural engineers do better? And I'm going to guess it's a lot about communication.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I agree.
But I think it'll be really cool. And one that I'm still not sure how we put together, and maybe we're talking about half our list here, but for future episodes, but a system optimization. It can mean so many different things, and there's so many different ways around it, or to take it on. But something I find really interesting that I hear and have read about is just that our codes are the minimum.
Yeah.
And so that means, obviously it's a minimum. We don't need to, we can always do better. Where does that make sense? And when does it make sense? And then when you start thinking about sustainability, the short term versus the long term of sustainability practices, right? Do you spend more carbon up front for a building that can last longer, or do you spend less? Like how and what? Like what? I think the big question is, what do you optimize a structure for?
Yeah. I mean, and on that topic, I've thought a lot about, is the most efficient design the strongest? Let's just say we were looking at a beam, right? To design it to exactly the expected load, I think would be the best. But, if it's a stronger structure, is it holding twice the load? Like that's not efficient, right? And so that balance of, what is the most ideal design?
Yeah.
I would argue is exactly the code. It's 101% demand capacity. But yeah, I mean, I believe it, but
yeah, where I think I struggle with this idea is, like, if we're going to say a building's sustainable, it needs to have longevity, and to have longevity means it has to change uses.
Yeah.
So
maybe be a little bit. I mean,
I don't know. I think it's a really hard conversation, and I think that's where, in some sort of optimization would be really key to understand what is, like you just said, if you make the beam a bit stronger, a little deeper, a little more bar, let's say for a concrete beam, and we can increase the capacity significantly, what's the cost implications of that versus a future building that you demoing that building and building a new building for its new use?
Yeah.
But then how do you optimize for all uses too? What always comes to mind when I think about this, and the conversations I've had with others, is it just has to be post and beam construction. Post and flat plate, right? Like,
it's most
bearing walls would be the worst for this, right? How do you change occupancy when you have bearing walls everywhere? So like multifamily construction would be really challenging, but I don't think that's a building type that's going to need change in the future, right? We're always going to need housing, but like our office buildings, and I don't know, my mind just goes so far out there with so many different things. I struggle with it, but
yeah. And I think it'd be really nice to do an episode on reuse of structures, because that's going to be a big part of sustainability in the future is, adjusting existing buildings to a new use. And, how do we modify additional loading or whatever the case may be? We need to figure this out.
And another topic I think would be cool to do on the podcast is, will we ever run out of the need of structural engineers? Will we at some point have enough buildings to where we're just maintaining them? So we'll still need structural engineers, of course, but are we no longer building new? I think it'd be a very interesting episode to have. And I was actually thinking about this on the flight here. I think the answer is no, because we're always we're always evolving in what we're doing. And so if you think about a lot of the buildings we're doing now in bigger cities, we're demoing the old building, right? They didn't do something right.
Yeah.
Or we need more capacity, which thus they didn't do something right.
Mm.
But two, as like populations move, there's a lot of topics and discussion out there of like, we're not actually growing in population long term. We're going to be shrinking.
And I think actually we are now shrinking for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. So like what point do we no longer need to build new build? Like it just blows my mind. There's 30 some odd structural engineers in this country.
This was a hard number to find, and I don't really believe it. But there are over 59,000 structural engineers currently employed in the United States, thanks to Zippia.com.
That stay busy doing majority new buildings, I think. I can't say that's a fact, but that there's that much work. But every city I travel to, there's so much construction. And if you look at a picture of that city 100 years ago, there's a couple buildings.
Nothing's
and now
there.
There's tens of thousands of buildings, right? Like, at what point have we developed a society that no longer needs to build new?
Yeah. So maybe changing the job of structural engineering, not.
But I don't think we ever did. This is my teaser of this, where I think we would go with it. We never can stop building new buildings because we're always learning from our past failures.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, obviously, there's longevity to buildings. A building does not live for, well, some can, but
Unless it's
200 years. Like, there is a time when they're done.
Why? Because we haven't learned. We're still learning everything we've learned in the past. One day we should have we should be able to design a building that can last 200 years.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yes, that's actually, it's a very big question. I did not think about this when you said why, though, but like, yeah, why can't a building last indefinitely? Because it's not like the steel changes, right? But,
for non-structural, like moisture is probably the biggest reason.
Yeah.
It's not the use of the building necessarily. It's not like people walking around is hurting the concrete.
No. And on a moisture side, you could say like moisture management. We architecturally can do a better job, maybe not perfect, but better.
Yeah. So most of my career it has blown my mind that we don't just randomly like, whoa, we have a whole shortage of buildings because we have them all, right? We slow down from economic reasons, but we don't slow down because
we're done now.
We're done.
We're good.
Like I think it'd be interesting to do an episode to understand what would it look like to be done.
Yeah.
What did that mean? I have no idea. I think it'd be really cool to dive into that.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to look at our work and population growth, and if there's any manipulation, if we scroll back 30 years, if our work takes a dip because the population decreased for a bit.
Right.
And how those are correlated.
And we're looking at such a short time or time chart within all of history.
Yeah.
So it's a maybe a good way we can correlate this, and we don't have to keep going down this route, but is Europe, right? Big populated cities in Europe, they don't build new often. They're renovating what they've already have because they're landlocked. It's a little different problem than we have in the United States. We have plenty of land. Where like 80% of Americans live on the East Coast. And as you go west of, I think, Tennessee, 20% of the country lives there. And it's like way more land mass.
Yeah.
So maybe we never run into that. But anyways, well, I think that's really all we wanted to talk about. I think we wanted to get on here and talk to you guys.
I actually want to hit one more goal. One of my big things for this year is I think that structural engineers are paid less than they should. I really value this profession. And, a small goal this year is to increase that. I mean, small goal. A massive goal this year is to increase the average pay of structural engineers. I think we need to be asking for more. And I think for a entry-level structural engineer to ask for more money, we need to be paid more, right? That has to come from somewhere. And I think, the value we provide should be able to do that. As we lean into more lower embodied carbon, as our job gets wider, I think we need to be asking for more because we need to be better at this. And I want to do what I can to make that happen. Yeah,
I'm there with you. I think helping structural engineers have conversations with their clients is a big part of that. And how can they help their clients bring in bigger fees to help everybody, it seems like we've beaten each other down over the last 50 years probably on all of that. And how do we change the idea of our qualifications from a fee base to more of a experience base? I think is going to be important. I actually have a few people we should talk to about this that are kind of experts in this field within the AE industry.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a really, really good one to discuss. But I think a lot of engineers will think of this as just like, oh, you're being greedy, right? Like we're doing what needs to be done and it doesn't matter. But I think when you increase the compensation, you bring in, I think often you bring in better talent. Instead of maybe some really good engineers going the mechanical route, they'll go the structural route, and which will help our industry innovate even more, per se. Or instead of becoming a doctor, they become a structural engineer, right? And that's like a laughable thing. If you were like, man, you think about their compensation versus ours. I mean, It's pretty funny, but
yeah.
Like they very actively save lives, and we very passively save lives, right? Like people go into buildings knowing they're safe.
Yeah. If there's a natural disaster, you go to a building and you're good.
Yeah.
And we passively save a lot more than a doctor actively saves. I mean, it's an interesting way to think about it, but yeah, I guess I just really value the job we do.
Yeah, sure. Well, Max, I think this was kind of fun to do.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this.
I like it.
Yeah, if you guys have any comments on this, let us know. We're thinking about doing this a little more often, just kind of checking in with you guys and giving you guys an update on what we're doing. And
any episodes you want to hear, any people that you think we should reach out to, I mean, send us emails. Really, we've had good luck reaching out to people and asking for them to be on the podcast, and we really love the ability to learn from them. And, if there's a subject you want to learn about, a person you would like on the episode, we'll reach out to them and try to make it happen. So send us an email. That'd be great.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.